is projection at its finest. Trump has been arguing for the rule of law, and this is somehow hate. Meanwhile, he has been condemning the looters and the rioters, as well as all of the illegals. But Democrats cannot offend their new voting bloc. No. These people were pointing out the shooter before the tragic event. Unless you are convicted of a crime, your rights cannot be taken away. Being on the roof with a rifle is more than enough evidence. The fact remains that this is one time that liberals were happy that a man had a gun. The Secret Service could not stop an active shooter because they ignored that he was there. It is as if there was a school where there was an active shooter, and the police gave the stand down order while the shooter was still in there. And said police did nothing about the shooter. Not that such a description reminds me of any recent situation where a sheriff was fired or anything. Yes, how could Secret Service ignore people pointing out that there is a shooter on the roof? How could they refuse to neutralize the threat until after he took the shot? It is almost as if they were told to stand down. The same protections were given to Brandon, and in a dark world where she wins, tackling Kamala. By providing protections to one president, you give protection to all presidents. Just like her gave massive immunity to Brandon over the same charges. But we can only talk about President Trump, not someone who is guilty but will never be charged because the jury would see him as a senile old man. If it were not for double standards, liberals would not have any standards. Let me break Miss Sorensen's gibberish down a bit. Nice straw man. That sounds like a Democrat talking point to me. After all, Brandon said that we were, quote, an existential threat, close quotes. And Clinton said that we needed a, quote, formal deprogramming, close quotes. Not to mention all of the mock assassinations. Just because he sounds like a Democrat, then will you condemn the people that were cheering for the shooter? Will you condemn the people who are glad that one of his supporters is dead? Will you condemn the people who have been doing mock assassinations all of this time? No, no, and no. Miss Sorensen went from just throwing things at the wall to just using a straw man. How utterly pathetic. Now let us see what gibberish Mr. Bowling has for us. He shut down the country and the economy before any Democrats showed any concern. In fact, he even went so far that Democrats called him racist for shutting down the country. Recall that Pelosi went and had a party in Chinatown? He never said it was a hoax and acted before everyone else. Again, despite Pelosi calling him a racist while she had a party in Chinatown. Actually, it was the rest of the media who made it appear worse than it was by putting the death counter on screen. And to claim that the controlled opposition was at the beck and call of President Trump is ridiculous. He does not need that glove. We have Pelosi's own words. Imagining that President Trump did nothing while he took action while Pelosi partied in Chinatown, or imagining that he tried to cover up the China virus, is just the height of ignorance. I am waiting for any evidence that voting rights were ever overturned. And I am waiting on any evidence that there is a ban on people reproducing as they so choose. And social services is awfully vague. There's no need to embrace imaginary climate change. And if you are here illegally, there is no reason for you to not be deported. Let us turn down the rhetoric and not have any more mock assassinations. Putin has gone on record, as much as he can be trusted, and said that he is not scared of Brandon but is scared of Trump. However, if he were to publicly say the opposite, the fake news would run with it. Moving on, it has been 8 years. And we are still going with the lie that was created by the Clinton campaign. The Democrats are not just beating a dead horse. They are beating a horse that is dead and buried. He was the first candidate, but he could not run as a Republican today. After all, he suspended habeas corpus and targeted journalists who disagreed with him, and judged citizens based on the color of their skin rather than their merits. If President Lincoln were running today, he would get the endorsement of the Democratic Party.